Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's quite opportune to follow that discussion of the nickel market. Manganese market is very similar in many ways, steel-driven, with a specialty component for the chemical market. And like nickel was maybe 2 years ago, it's been completely overlooked in terms of where these units are going to come from to make the nickel sulfate, the manganese sulfate for the battery market. So I'm just going to speak a little bit about that. Hold on a second while I get this working. So our business is based in Botswana, very good jurisdiction as far as Africa is concerned. We're right in the bottom corner where all the infrastructure is. We're very close to the international airport, roads, rail, and all of the industrial infrastructure you need to build a plant. You can see there a few pictures of the railway. It's in daily usage. It's in good shape, and it connects directly into the South African network. Just a little bit here on the industrial uses of manganese. Clearly, like nickel, it goes into the steel market. It's also going to be very important. It's continuously overlooked because it is the NMC battery, nickel, manganese, cobalt. The manganese provides a safety and stability factor for the battery. And as they change the battery chemistry to reduce cobalt and nickel goes up, manganese retains its significant importance. And the overall growth, the charts are going to be very similar to what you saw in his presentation on nickel. We are going to be using a SXEW process. It's a little bit different than what they do in China, where they tend to smelt it. It's used in the rest of the world, and it's highly dependent on the ore being a non-carbonitic ore. So if anybody has any questions about that afterwards, I can go into a bit of detail for you. EMM market, again, some forecasts. I don't even know. These might know it's from the International Manganese Institute, not from CRU. But you can see the growth in the market, and this is only to 2027, when you probably only will have, I don't know, a stock of maybe 20 or 30 million battery electric vehicles. The market for vehicles annually is about 96, 98 million. If you're talking about getting anywhere near the numbers that they're talking about, these numbers are going to be significantly greater, even as you change the battery chemistry. And the big question, and because they're pure units, they equate to significant amounts of ore. And most of the ore is not really compatible with SXEW and low-cost operations. Our milestones that we've achieved, we've done quite a lot in a very short period of time. So we have our resource now, and we are in the phase of going towards development. PEA is underway at the moment. And we will be working this year to get ready for development next year, amongst a number of things. Some of the work that we did, the surface mapping, ground geophysics, resource and exploration drilling, all done last year, culminated in the resource that we have. It is a relatively small resource compared with the metallurgical market. We will have an upgrade of this with our new hydrometallurgical testing. We were only allowed the lowest recovery, which is 62%. All of our current recoveries in our new round of testing have been above 90%. So we'll see cutoff grade drop, and with the cutoff grade dropping, the overall resource will rise. If you can read a grade tonnage curve, you'll be able to sort of plot that. If it's about a 12% cutoff is where we think we'll come out at. 2019 work streams. We have a very busy year this year. We have 3 effective things that we're doing. The development of the K.Hill deposit, and that is the PEA that's ongoing right now. It'll be reserve drilling later in the year, in the middle of the year. That will be followed by definitive feasibility. We'll skip directly over, as it's a relatively small-scale project, over the pre-feasibility and the environmental social impact assessment. All of that will be done this year. The other work that we're doing is a direct shipping ore program. We have some stockpiled material which we can sell into the metallurgical market. That'll generate probably net $5 to $7 million of cash. And that cash will be used for the development. And the final one is exploration. We want to triple the size of our resource, take it up from about 10 years to 30, make ourselves globally significant. You can see some of the timeline in the bottom there. I've got the presentations. I don't think I have real time to run through it in the 10 minutes that's allotted to me. Just a bit more on the dumps. That will be going into production very soon on the dumps, hopefully in June, July time. It's not very significant relative to the overall project, but it's very significant from cash generation and therefore lowering dilution, less equity raised. You can see the pits that we're going to be rehabilitating. You can see there's a large number of stockpiles at our other deposits, about 30 of them, and some of the estimated tonnages there will be moving maybe 30 to 50,000 tons of product. Exploration, it's very important. We have effectively 3 targets. We have Lobatse, we'd like to turn that into resource. K.Hill, we'd like to expand the existing resource and obviously the reserve. Otse, we would like to determine whether or not that is actually going to be able to be turned into resource, and then our new targets. But about $2 million allocated for that, probably during the rest of this year and beginning of next year. You can see some of our target locations where we're going to do the further exploration to increase the overall resource. It's these are bulk, so they're not particularly difficult to explore. It's not like gold or platinum or diamonds. It's much more straightforward. Just some more of the work that we'll do at Otse there. Included in the 2019 workstream is the sort of marketing program that we have with the end users. At the moment, we have a convertible loan note facility with Traxys, which we hope to draw down on in the next 4 to 6 weeks. That'll allow us to put the DSO program into action and start the production. We are talking with a number of the other consumers of product, particularly Umicore is third largest or in the top 3 largest cathode manufacturers. We should have some EMM that we have made in the bench scale testing. Towards the end of this week, maybe beginning of next week, we will be sharing that with a number of the consumers. We're heading for the high purity again EMM, which can be dissolved into manganese sulfate, or we could possibly make manganese sulfate directly. At the moment, we're just making the EMM, and then there's a number of traders like ThyssenKrupp who are very interested in standing in between us and the end users. They would be interested in providing us with offtake financing or prepay, things like that, which should help us finance the mine into next year. So look, it's a very interesting investment opportunity. We should be relatively self-financing up until the construction. We hope that we'll be able to finance some of the construction ourselves through continued DSO production. Other than that, it'll come from the banking market and from off-takers. The strategy is both, of course, organic growth. The main focus is on that, but we are always looking at growth by acquisition. We have looked at one last year, which we decided not to proceed with, and we're looking at another one at the moment. We'll see whether or not that proceeds. Board and management, we've significantly upgraded our board and management over the last 12 months. We've added an old boss of mine, Mike Jones, at the beginning of 2018. He's a mining engineer, worked in Botswana for 8 years, is very well known and knows the senior mining people in the country. We added Jonathan Henry at the back end of 2018, has experience in building mines, built a number of mines himself, has been the CEO of some relatively large gold companies, an excellent non-executive director, very supportive of management, particularly myself. And then just a little bit of key data. Obviously, our share price has not performed beautifully in the last year, but I was at a conference recently, and we decided that amongst a number of us in the battery electric vehicle raw material space, we'd have a bet as to who would buy the beers that night, and it was the worst performing share price over the last 12 months. We came out quite well. We were in the top quartile, even though it's been not a particularly good performance. We'd hope to see that improving as we hit our key points with the PEA and some of the other and the production from DSO going forwards. So that's really I have a series of appendix slides which go into a little bit more detail as to where there is production, what the production is, what the battery electric vehicle market's all about, where manganese fits into that. If anybody wants to pick up the slides for the appendices, they're at my booth, and I'm very happy to answer any questions anybody has. Thank you.